everyone. My name is Dr. Hal Bradley. I would like to ask us, each and every one of you, that if you enjoyed these shows, please hit like, share, and subscribe after you view the show. Thank you very much.
Hey, everybody, this is P.J. Turner filling in again for Hal, who's still under the weather, unfortunately. He's feeling better, but kind of got one of those second waves on this cold. This cold has been taking people out in the Seattle area, too. I think Hal said last count was 7 people in his little neighborhood. Some of them just direct neighbors and lifelong friends. So prayers for Hal. That would be an appropriate thing to ask for. Prayers for anybody who's not feeling well. And so, again, Pete sitting in the chair today, hosting the show, and I thought I'd bring my friend Gavin onto the show with us. Gavin and I, look, we've had our own struggles. Gavin's a spy from the past. I'm a spy from the past. And we've seen people in just tremendous peril. And I know, like, for me in combat zones, sometimes you'll come across somebody, you're just desperate to help them, but my interaction with them is too transactional to do anything. But these are still people that need help. And we talk a lot about that here. The redeemed, the redeemer, the person who's in between. And so I thought Gavin and I might talk about how one might reframe their condition into one where they're a little more empowered, and how he also helps people empower themselves through different techniques that we use in the spy world. So Gavin, thanks for coming on the show. Happy to have you here. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. This is it's an honor and a privilege, and good to be chatting with you again, mate.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be Hal next time. He's, you've heard his story. Everybody knows Hal's story. It's so incredible. They're making a movie out of it. But it'd be neat to have you on with Hal, because there's so much overlap in how we see the world. I know when Hal and I talk, we'll do a show and I'll talk about some aspect of being a field agent, and he's like, "That's exactly like when I was in Bogota." We'll have this great conversation. He understands. Look, talk about being so. Gavin and I work for this company that we're inventing called SpyQ, and we're trying to help people become the most comfortable person in the room. It's not a commercial. I'll just give you some background. And some of this stuff is the stuff that Hal has had to do. And there's tremendous damage in absorbing all of this stuff that comes towards you that doesn't belong to you, but you have to sit with and deal with so that you can do things like set up a drug deal with people that would potentially kill you if they knew they would kill you if they knew your actual intention. So I guess let's just kind of start there with how would you categorize the damage that you took from your work? I know my field, super dangerous, super emotionally damaging, but how was your work?
It was, so when it went well, it was great. And, and you get this really fantastic feeling of achievement when, you've recruited an asset, they've brought you some valuable intel. When you finally get to deliver on your end of the bargain, whether it's payment, whether it's a passport, whatever the case may be, they might want to defect and come over to England or any other country. And when you got that feeling of achievement, it really is brilliant. On the flip side, and this is something I don't talk about publicly much, when it all goes pear-shaped, it really, and any intelligence officer who's ever lost an asset or been in one of these situations where they even could lose an asset will tell you it's like losing a family member. And then above and beyond that is sometimes when the top brass tells you we're changing the deal, and you've made the promise to somebody who you've spent so much time cultivating, working with, they've done so much for you, they've gone above and beyond, they've risked their life, they've risked their family's lives, they've risked prison, and then they've delivered everything, and then all of a sudden they say, right, it's time to get me out, or it's time to do this, and you go to your, commanding officer and you say, right, I want now to get them what we've promised them, and they go, no, yeah, we've decided the intel wasn't good enough. We want another 6 months, or we're not going to honor it, or and then you feel like, I've now got to go and break it to my asset that I'm literally going to pull the bottom out of his world, and how do I deliver that news? And that, I mean, I've had some really, really big arguments with some of my superiors with that kind of thing, and I've said, no, I made this promise, it's going to happen, and and I've really gone to say, and that's one of the reasons why in the end I actually left. I thought I'm a person, if I make a promise, I'll stick to it, even if it costs me, even if it puts me out, even if it harms me, I will stick to what I promise, and so I don't make promises easily. So it was really getting to me that when I was making promises, if I wasn't able to stick to them, I thought, right, I'm changing the narrative here, and that was why in the end I thought I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving my word, which means something to me and should mean something to the recipient, and not being able to know for a fact I can deliver on it. And that was why, like I say, in the end, I'm like, yeah, it's time for me to leave this game.
Yeah, man, that's as real as it gets. And I know I definitely hear exactly what you're saying. I have been in the same situation. I have seen us do this to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk, a lot of times I'll get that question, have you ever killed anybody? Like, pew, shot him, that kind of thing, right? And I typically don't answer that question because it's frankly nobody's business, right? Because that's a serious thing to have to live with for the rest of your life. What I don't ever bring up, and I'll bring up now since we're kind of talking about this, is I've killed people in other ways, right? And so we make these promises, and then there's ill-principled behavior stacked above us. So I'm supposed to be above reproach, so everybody can trust me to be this field agent. And then I get betrayal from above, because someone else is protecting their career over this person's life.
Yeah.
Who I told them to believe in me, and I believed in me, and I believed in that person. And then you go crawfish on the deal above me because of what? Like to not fly them to the United States and protect their family.
Yeah.
They did the job, and was U.S. citizenship in the offing? Probably not, but to them, what was it? And so that betrayal, and I've had to do that. I've terminated a source. Everybody, when you terminate a source, doesn't mean you murder them, but in this case, it could mean, right? Like you and I both know that world exists too. But we had to go terminate a source, and the way we decided to do it was to terminate that source publicly, so that they would not come back and potentially run ops on us, because that's what we thought he was doing. That was our guess, right? It was a good guess. Still believe to this day. But I was the one tasked with giving him the kiss on the cheek right there in the middle of the town.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's and if you guys don't understand, like, that is a termination. That is dangerous for that other dude that I kissed on the cheek.
Oh, for sure. And of course, these are the side of things that we don't normally discuss. The kind of, the reasons why so many intelligence officers drink until they fall asleep, so they don't dream about the things that they've seen or the things that they've done. It's a very dark side of the world. All the James Bond martinis and casinos, and that's all well and good in Hollywood, but in reality, there's some horrible, nasty shit goes on. And sorry, I don't know whether I'm allowed to swear on.
You can say whatever you want. This is a truth zone here. Yeah.
Okay, but either way, it's there's some nasty, horrible stuff that happens, and that's the side that I generally gloss over. I go to the more practical side of the positive things that come out of it.
It's dangerous work, and we are in a position where we do have to have those conversations, and it becomes a binary thing, him or us, and it's going to be us that wins that thing. So, yeah, I mean, we were going to leave, and this is what America is good at this. So we probably co-opt you all into doing this as well. Like, okay, we're leaving, and we make all these plans for months, and we never tell our partner. And there are many times where I would say, I'm not going to have that on my conscience. I might have other stuff, but I'm not going to have that. So I would go see that mayor, that governor, that elder, and I would say, I need you to know we're leaving.
Yeah.
And this isn't classified information. He knows that, right? He's like, yeah, I know at some point you're going to leave. And I'm like, you need to understand we're leaving. Like right away. What do you need to do? How can we help you in the next, say, 6 weeks? And again, I'm not revealing any secrets. I'm just giving them a frame of mind. And then you see the terror on their face. And the only antidote for that is a tons of therapy, tons of whiskey, tons of drugs, whatever it is. Like those are the answers, because I'm the one telling this person that the jig is up and we have betrayed them, and they have all I can give them is a head start. And I can't even say when the head start's going to begin.
Yeah, it is a really delicate situation, because as the messenger, as we know, we're the deliverer of bad. We're on the front line, kind of giving that bad news, and automatically by default the blame goes to us. They look at us like, you've done this to me, you know, and you can't say to them, no, I haven't done it. You know, they have, but they don't exist in their world. We exist in their world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
you know, like I say, I have to be careful that I don't stray down a dark path and dwell on it too much. And you know, and what I do is yeah, I can kind of take the time out to feel the empathy, but at the same time not go down that road of getting myself dwelling on it heavily. And then I have to flip the narrative and go, but hey, what about all the good we did? What about all the lives we did save? What about all the people who we did make a difference for? You know, and that's when I kind of then balance it and tip the scales back in favor of what we do. You know.
Yeah, fair enough. But you made a great point earlier by saying those ghosts come out at night and sleeping, and when you aren't in control of what happens around you, and all of those things conjure up, it's terrifying, everybody. And I know Hal has the same thing. Hal wakes up in the jungle all the time because when you're kidnapped and tortured, you know, that stuff doesn't just ebb away; it stays inside of you.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to say, well, okay, when I left, what do I do now? You know, how do I continue to make a difference to people? You know, in a positive way. How do I learn the knowledge? You know, to teach the knowledge I've got to others, or use what I know to be able to make other people's lives better. And that's what took me down the path eventually to SpyQ. I mean, I did do it kind of for a while. It was just a case of friends, families, colleagues, or referrals bringing me with either problems or wanting help and that kind of thing. And then said, well, you know, this is my issue. How do I fix it all? And that was what, after many phone calls over a lot of time and fixing people's problems, it was actually my wife who said, look, instead of getting called all the time by people, this is my problem this month, you know, can you help me fix this? Why don't you teach them what you know in order to then, you know, kind of help them to help themselves? And that was the kind of the birth of SpyQ, as it were.
As we start to transition into this, like from the we need redemption, we have these ghosts at night. One of the things that helped me not want to die all the time was I started trying to be helpful to other people. I did want those phone calls so I could be a resource to people. It doesn't mean that I need to be trapped by their problem, but I was a resource for these things. And so by being helpful, I had a use again, you know, because the government betrayed me as much as I betrayed those people on behalf of the government.
Exactly.
So there's that part of it too. But yeah, the SpyQ thing in teaching people like how to reframe their problem. You know, if you have this goal, if you have these outcomes, gosh, there's ways to do it. There's people you can talk to. By the way, build your own damn network. You know, get out of the house, and not everybody does that, right? That's why there's field agents. That's why there's analysts. So when you talk to someone, how do you hold your? Because the thing that Hal's great at is he's like, hey, I've been there. I'm in a motorcycle gang. I've done drugs. I've sold drugs. I've done all these things. So when you come to me and say, hey, I want to keep this on the down low, brother, that's what I do. That's what he would say, you know? So how do you not sit in judgment above somebody who needs help? How do you make yourself the person that they call? Because that is a gift. And I always think about like, how did I become the person that somebody calls when somebody dies? How did I become this person? So how did you become that person?
So, I mean, for me, I can never sit in judgment because, you know, at the end of the day, none of us were born knowing everything. We've all been that ignorant person, and we've all, over time, you know, some have learned more than others, some have learned through experience, you know, and so to sit in judgment isn't going to do me any favors at all because, you know, even now, I need help in things I'm doing, and I have to turn to people and say, hey, you know, you're part of my network. This is my issue. Do you know anybody, or can you fix this problem for me? So we're all equal in that sense. One of the main differences is with myself. I've built a network over the years through everybody I have met, whether it's on a plane, a train, in a cafe, in a bar, the next door neighbor, whatever. I've managed to build a relationship with that person that has no ask. You know, it's not about what can you do for me or even what I can do for them. It's just building a relationship that's enough to know that if I needed to call on that person for whatever they are, you know, whatever industry they work in, that relationship is strong enough for me to say, hey, can you guide me out? Can you help me with an issue? And of course, that's allowed me to achieve probably a lot more than most normal people, because whatever I need, I can pretty much guarantee I can scroll through my phone or go through my phone book, and there's a number in there for somebody that does it. You know, whether it's a gardener, a painter, an arms dealer, a drug dealer, you know, a vehicle mechanic, a guy who does spare parts for tanks, whatever the hell I need. There's a number in my phone for it. You know, and so the power of networking is really phenomenally huge. But there's the one all important part that most people miss, and that is the fact that you've got to maintain that network. It's no good just having a collection of numbers in your phone, because if you haven't spoken to that person for 3 years and all of a sudden you're ringing them up and saying, hey, you know, I've got a problem, and they're like, who's this? What? Who are you? You know, they might have changed the number 3 times. They might have forgotten all about you, you know. So it's about maintaining that network. And when you've got as many people in the network as what I have, you know, people often say to me, you know, how on earth do you manage to maintain a network of over 4,000 people? You know, the amount of contacts you've got. And I say, well, a lot of it is actually down to rotation. You know, so one of the easiest things to do, scroll right to the very bottom of your phone, to your very last text message from the last person, or the last WhatsApp message, or whatever medium you use, and go right to the very, very bottom and just send them a quick message. Hey, it's been a while, haven't seen or heard from you for a bit, just checking in, seeing if you're okay. What are you up to? No ask, just wondering how you are, buddy. And that then goes to the top. You know, it's now at the top of your text message bar. Do 2 or 3 of those, not whatever amount you're comfortable managing. Not everybody, just the bottom 2 or 3. And what happens is that keeps that list rotating constantly. It keeps them fresh in your mind. It keeps them like, oh look, you know, he's asking about me. He cares. He wants to stay in touch and blah blah blah. And that way, you're not just the person that everybody hates who only ever shows up when they want something. You know. But remember, it's not just going to be a "Hey, how are you?" text, and they say, "Hey, I'm good," and then you go, "That's it," and leave it and ignore it. You know, you've got to say, "Yeah, what are you up to these days? What projects are you working on? What's going on? Anything I can help with?" And if they turn around and say, "Oh, I've just taken on this big project, you know, which is a concession for, you know, the Dorchester Hospital or whatever," you go, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me." So this is why I'm saying manage the amount that you're comfortable with, because if you were to do 20 of these, all of a sudden you've got 20 conversations going on. That become, I mean, one of the Christmas Day, one of the most difficult things that I had to do was contact nearly everybody in my Rolodex to wish them Merry Christmas. You know, so of course you can imagine how many conversations that led to, and you know, so most of my Christmas was catching up with people and having multiple conversations. But the beauty of that is that network stays live and active, even with as many people in it that I have in my network, and that allows me to kind of be able to make a call to whatever person in whatever industry and say, "Need your advice, need a bit of help with something. What you know, can we do this?" And that really is one of the reasons why people come to me, because they know I have that extensive network of, if I don't know somebody, I know somebody that does.
Likewise, right? And so folks that have big networks, you do, I do, we can think of other people that do. We don't mind sharing our network with someone like that, because I know that you're going to honor and respect that node that I've passed over to. Hey, here's a person you could talk to, right? And then I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to introduce you well to that person, and vice versa to you. You know, so I'm going to slow down, and I don't make this up. This is all real stuff. I don't have a robot do any of this, by the way. I type it in myself. And so if I was going to introduce you to Hal, and Hal would recognize this, I'd say, "Hal, I want you to meet my friend Gavin. Gavin, like me, is a former spy. And here's what I can tell you about Gavin. You can trust him with your life, because he's the kind of guy that will come through for you no matter what." Hal knows what that means.
Yeah.
You read me saying that about you, you know what that means, and you know that I know that you know. And then I say, "Gavin, meet Hal. Hal's an incredible man. He went on this journey, and he got all the way back to redemption. He knows what it means to be trustworthy. He knows what it means to not be judgmental. And he's the kind of person that even if you guys never do a drop of business, even if you guys never have a long conversation, he's a great person to know, just like you." And then I would say, "Gents, comma," and then I would say something about that. Love to see what you guys come up with. If I could ever be of help to you guys. And I've put you guys in the same room. How many times has someone been introduced like that to somebody else? where it's character, it's trustworthiness that features. It's not about accomplishments. Yeah, you balance the books. Goddamn, great job, but would I trust you in a firefight? If that's a thing that I would trust you with.
Yeah.
And I don't always say that, but I find a thing to say that resonates between the two people. And I'm like, and if nothing else, you're just two people that should know each other. I'm not responsible for how they maintain their relationship, but then I gracefully bow out, and now you're well introduced.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant way to do it. I mean, it's something that I'm guilty on the odd occasions of trying to plow through, like kind of, hey guys, Pete meet Dave, Dave meet Pete,
Sure.
this is who and what they do or whatever, and now I'll leave you guys to it. And usually when it comes to something like that, if I do it on that level, it's because I know that the two of you are instantly going to. There's no need for me to.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I have done that, but at the same time, I've done what you've said as well. I've gone into the background, like, this is Pete. I know him well. We've worked together. We're both in the same industry, blah, 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 and I'll say, I can trust this man, and whatever I need to say, and then I'll do the same again. Like I say, it's context dependent on who I'm doing the intros between.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. And sometimes I'll say, haven't got a lot of time for this. You're both wonderful people and I adore you. You guys on, and then I'm out, right? But I do take the time, and I would never let a robot do that, right? It would be a specific thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to like creating opportunities for the redemption, this is the thing that I want other people to hear. Like, you can manage this yourself, right? You can find ways to bootstrap yourself into something. Yes, everybody needs help, and ask for it, but understand where you need the help. Know what that ask is what Pete would say. Because when you come to me and say, that's a therapy session. That's not a help. And I got time for therapy sessions. I've done my exorcisms with people. But yeah, how do you approach sorting? I'll say one more thing about this. If you come to me and you need help, and then I say, do this, and then that will unlock help that I can give you, and you won't do this, then we're stuck. Yeah. You're stuck back in the same spot. You're going to have to scramble, because I can't fix your problem for you, but I can create opportunities where your situation may improve. That's about what I can handle. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I've also done, what I consider to be favors for friends in the past that have also backfired on me. I've introduced two people that I get on with, but I get on with the guy over here, I get on with the guy over there, and this guy needs what this guy does. This guy is happy to do, and so I've introduced the two. And the next thing there's a great big row going on, and then they're both coming to me going, who is this guy? So that backfired on me big time, which has been a shame of again trying to do favors for other people. And I've ended up losing friends, through the introduction. So it's unfortunate when these things happen, but such is life. And what it does, it does show you the level of the friendship, because that is something that even myself I've got wrong on several occasions, because I tend to judge people by my own standards. So Pete, you're my friend. If you knocked on my door midnight, 4 a.m, middle of the day, whatever, and said, Gavin, I need help, I'd say, come on in, Pete. Let's have a brew. What are we doing? I'm not a 10 o'clock and my door is closed kind of friend, So and this is where because that's the way I am. I'm very close to my friends in the sense of, if they need something from me and I can give it, then I'm going to do that. I'm not going to kind of say, hey, no, it's not my problem, or and because of that, that's led me to judge other people in the past and going, oh, this guy's my friend, and then something like this, what I just mentioned about the introduction, has happened, and then all of a sudden you have a fall. Like, you think, well, hey, obviously our friendship didn't mean as much to you as I thought it did, So, that's an easy trap to fall into. You've probably experienced similar things.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like with this redeemer quality, sometimes it is a therapy session, and sometimes I need to ask for clarity. Like, what are we trying to do here? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to talk? Do you want me to help you? Do you want me just to empathize with you? Because that will allow me, because I don't need this shit, but I'm glad to wash it through my I don't need this shit filter and let it just fall right on the floor, so you can You're my friend. You can vomit all over me, and I'm gonna be like, none of this belongs to me. You just needed to get it out of you, and I'm glad to be that person.
Exactly.
I have this much time for that, and then, then I gotta go. But I try to categorize the person, and we do a lot of this in our line of work, right? Like, what kind of person is this? Okay, and if this person's coming to me, they're desperate, but are they capable of taking the first step, or are they still kind of thrashing about and they need to thrash about a bit? I don't know, and that's kind of how I approach a lot of these things. But what do you do to sort?
So I'm glad you mentioned what you said just about, like, what do you need from this? Because so I learned something some time ago, and I'm going to generalize a little bit here. And if this is heard wrong and not listened to properly, then it could be taken down the route of being sexist, and it's not. It's not sexist. It's a psychological observation, and if we understand that men and women are very, very different in many ways, right? And the general rule, and obviously, like I say, I'm generalizing, the general rule is in a household, if something, if a kid breaks something, it's a case of, oh, take it to your dad. So you go to your dad, I've broke my clock or my robot toy or whatever the case may be, and dad takes it down to the shed and he gets his tools out and he uses duct tape and zip ties and whatever and repairs the robot and puts it back. So if you're a young boy, you think, oh, that's what men do. You grow up thinking men fix things. Right, that's your kind of mentality. Again, like I say, I'm really being generalising here. Please, I don't want any grief off anybody saying, "Oh, you're being sexist or talking about roles," and that's not the case. I'm just talking about, So if you go down that route, boys like to take things apart, put things together, Lego, Meccano, learn about things, blah blah blah. They're very physically tangible and start to do that. So we grow up. Most males grow up believing that's our place. It's our job to fix things. Now, it took me a while to wrap my head around this, because there was times that my wife would come to me and say, oh, this has happened. And me being a male, I've naturally said, right, how do I fix this? What do I do? And I've totally missed the entire point of why she came to me. She didn't want me to fix it. She didn't want me to go out and repair what was broken or put a problem right. What she wanted me to hold her and just say, I got and this is so when you brought that up about, is this person ready? Or they, do they want their problem fixing? I think that's really, really pertinent in understanding that sometimes people don't necessarily want the problem fixed. Sometimes they just want to vent, or they just want to be held, or they just want somebody to talk to. So, like you mentioned there, really pertinent point. The first thing you've got to do is establish, does this person actually want me to fix the problem? And the best way to get there is to ask them, do you want me to do something about this for you? Do you want me to try to resolve this for you?
Sometimes we get stuck. We get so hopeless in our own stuff. We do need an outside perspective. Again, this is where guys like you and I kind of shine, And so we'll say something like, and even if this thing is awful, the worst day of your life, and you're trying to figure out, where do I go from here? Death is often the worst day in someone's life. Someone close to them dies and they just don't know what to do. And then the voice of reason can come in and say, there's nothing to do. Just grieve. That's your job. Slow down. Care for those. And I because I'm someone people call when someone dies, I've learned the skill of dealing with death. Not at Hal's level, but just at a very hey, there's nothing for you to do. This person is gone. And you can start the grieving process. You can go wash some dishes, you can go polish the whole house, whatever it is that you need to do that. But all you have to do is grieve, and there's no rush, and you're going to continue to grieve for a long time. And just reframing that thing, making it real. Like a death certificate here in America, it comes at the pace it comes at. You can't go knock on someone's door, and you shouldn't go knock on someone's door, because that thing's not going to hurry up. And to what end? The person's still dead. There is no rush anymore. It might take you 5 years to close out someone's life, legally and with all the paperwork and everything. You don't have to start doing that now. You may want to go for a walk, go call the people that are alive around you and talk to them. All of these things. Hey, by the way, go get your wills and trusts set up so that you're prepared, so that the person who's going to look after you. There's all kinds of things to do, but you don't have to do anything about this person being dead, because that happened. And now we have to move on to the next thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because so there's this big thing over here in the UK right now. I don't know whether you've heard about it, and A lot of farmers are when they pass over, they're leaving their farms that have been in the family for generations and generations to their children. But the children, they can't afford to pay the inheritance tax and all the other taxes involved in kind of, and they end up losing the family farm and losing everything. Now, I had a friend of mine here in Dorset, down in the southwest of England. He come to me with the bad news that he was dying. And now anybody who knows a little bit about farming, without getting too complex, knows that there's a time that farming goes like that. You make a bit of money, but then depending on the seasons, you then put the money back into next year's, and so it's, there's times when you have money and times when you don't. And it's been on a bit of a downward trajectory, and it looked like he was going to pass away at a point where there wouldn't be any money in the pot. And he was so upset, and he said to me, "Look, there's no way this farmer's been in my family for years, and if I leave it to my children, they can't afford it. They can't afford to pay the inheritance taxes and all the other things, especially for all the machinery. These combine harvesters and things, they're not cheap, So he said, what do I do?" And I said, the only thing you can do right now to rescue yourself out of this situation is put the entire farm and all the plant, all the machinery, everything in a trust. I said, and when that's in a trust, you own the trust, so nobody can touch your farm or your other bits, but also you can put your children and family and wife and whatever as trustees. So when you pass away, they automatically have ownership of it without the inheritance tax. There's no change of ownership because the trust owns it. And all of you own the trust. So when you die, you're just no longer a trustee, and they still are. Anyway, I helped him get through the entire thing, and I'll never forget at the end of it all, he thanked me and he said, "I'm now ready to die." And that was a really, really touching moment, So there's a lot of people here in the UK, a lot of farmers that are losing their land and everything they've owned, family, buildings and land that's been in the family for generations, and they don't need to. With just a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of help, they can save all of that. And I recommend to anybody, when we've all heard the saying, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Take the time to do a little bit of research, and learn how, you might be able to save yourself a lot of time and money.
Well, we have to wrap this episode up. I think that's a great spot to end at. And for sure, wills and trust, everybody. You guys, this is such a big thing. And it's so doable. It's so easy. You cannot allow fear to stop you. And then put that onus on your kids to look, everybody needs a state to survive. But if you're desperate for your stuff to go into probate or belong to the state or the lowest bidder, highest bidder, that's what you do. You ignore all that stuff and you don't take care of your family in the best way possible. There are vehicles out there to help you with that. Definitely go do those things. Anything in closing before we wrap up?
I was just going to say the fact that, look, if anybody's struggling with anything like this is what me and Pete do. If we don't know ourselves, there are consultants out there that we know that will know, so, give us a shout, get in touch. If we're not the A-team, but, get in touch. If you can find us, we're on LinkedIn. We will try and do our best to help and guide you, or at least point you in the right direction, or put you in touch with somebody who knows more about it than us. So, never let ignorance rule your life. There's somebody.
Yeah, there's build your network, support your network, take the next step, help someone else do the same thing. Those are good rules. This is how you get to go from redeemed to redeemer. So I appreciate that, Gavin. Hal, feel better, buddy. He was just texting me while we were talking, and I wanted to check in with him. He's all right. He's just sick and everything else. Gavin, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, folks. Well, that wraps up another episode today, and I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to catch our show. Now, if you like these shows, I would ask that you would please hit like, share, and subscribe. It's so important to us that we get these messages out, and we understand that these are graphic, almost toxic interviews. But, this is the kind of impact that we feel is needed in order to make sure that people understand the significance of the problems that we are confronted within our own country and around the globe. So I'm going to say at this time that I love you all. God bless you all. Hasta luego, y vaya con Dios, and go Victors.